Good morning, students. Okay. Good morning, students. In previous class, we are discussing what the plant breeding definition, steps involved in a plant breeding technique under the chapter strategies for the enhancement in food production. So we are going to we used to talk about that point only. Yesterday we are discussing about the plant breeding and we are discussed about the steps involved in a plant breeding. And now, what is the importance of that plant breeding in the sense? With the help of plant breeding, we are going to increase the drastic production in an agricultural product or a food products. Okay. So now, in today's class, we are going to discuss about something. We are going to discuss about how the plant breeding is helpful for the production of food. Here, the first point we are going to discuss. Now, the India is mainly an agricultural country. Okay, what I told you, India is mainly an agricultural country. It is mainly an agricultural country. In the sense, you all know about the agriculture is the backbone of India. In the ಏನು ಪಾತಂದಾಗ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಇದೇನಿದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತ ದೇಶದ ಬೆನ್ನ ಮೂಳೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Like that, India is mainly an agricultural country, and here what we are going to expect ಅಂತಂದಾಗ 33% of GDP. 33% of GDP in India come from the agriculture, and agriculture provides 62% of what we are going to call that one as a employee from our Indian population. Indian population, like the 62% Indian population depend upon the agriculture. In the sense, it is going to provide the employee for 62%. And what happened in India in the sense after the independence ತಂದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ತಂದಾಗ our country was facing an important problem, that is what fulfill of food for the increasing population. In the sense, after the India's independence, one of the main challenge facing the country was that the producing enough food for the increasing population. What is the challenge in front of India after the independence? To produce enough food for the increasing population. And that is what we are going to call that one as India has to strive to increase the yield. India has to strive to increase the yield per unit area. India has strived to increase the yield per unit area for existing farmland. In the sense, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಕನ್ನಡದ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಇನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ, ದೆನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್. ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಂದಾಗ ಭಾರತ ದೇಶ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ದು ಇದೇನು ರೈತಕಿ ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಬೆನ್ನ ಮೂಳೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಭಾರತ ದೇಶದ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ 33% ಆಫ್ ದ GDP ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ನೋಡಿ ಈಗ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೈ GDP ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಡೊಮೆಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಈಗ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ನಾಗ ಕೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು ಇಂಡಿಯಾ GDP ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬಂತು, ಇಂಡಿಯಾ GDP ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಹೋಯ್ತು, ಅವ್ರದಾದ್ರು ಇದಾದ್ರು ಪಾಲಿಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅದು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ. ಈಗ ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಡೊಮೆಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಡೊಮೆಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. It is nothing but what we are going to call it as a this gross domestic product. It is a standard measure of the value added, standard measure of the value added created through the production of goods and service in the country. Production of goods and service in the country during a certain, what we are going to call it, during certain period. Andra ಈ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಾಗ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಂಟ್ರಿದಾಗ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಡೆಡ್, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಮೇಜರ್ಸ್. ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಮೇಜರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅಳಿತಾರ, ಏನು ಅಳಿತಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯಬಲ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ಏನೇನು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ ಅಥವಾ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಅಂದಾಗ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ದಾಗ, ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷನಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು ಅಥವಾ 1.5 ವರ್ಷನಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು, ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ಎಸ್ ಎ ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ. ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಈ ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಏನೈತಿ, ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಏನದ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಡೊಮೆಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಡೊಮೆಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತದೆ 33% ಜಿ ಡಿ ಪಿ ಇದು ಥ್ರೂ ದಿ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಏನಿದೆ, ಒಂದು ನಾವೇನು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಇದು ಏನಂತೆ ನಾವು ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ಸ್ 62% ಆಫ್ ದ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್, ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್. ದ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಆರ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗ್ತೈತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಇಂದ ಸಿಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಒಂದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಅಪ್ರಿ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್. ನಮ್ದು ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಈಸ್ ಫೇಸ್ ದ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯಾವ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಿರ್ತಂದಾಗ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಇನಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಇನಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಾಗ ಇರುವಂಥ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಕಲ್ಟಿವೇಶನ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್, ಯಾವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗೋದು ಆಗೇನಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕಲ್ಟಿವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗೋದು ಹೋಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಒನ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ in front of people, how to increase the productivity per unit area. ಎಷ್ಟು ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಐತಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಟು ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ದಿ ನೀಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈವ್ ಟು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ yield per unit area from the existing firm land. ಎಷ್ಟು ಫರ್ಮ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕಲ್ಟಿವೇಟೆಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಐತಿ ಅದ್ರೊಳಗನೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ yield per unit area. ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಾಗ ಆ ಈಲ್ಡಿನ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಏನು ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆವರಲ್ ಹೈ ಯೀಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ವೆರೈಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ wheat and rice. At meantime, what the scientists or what the people who are all interested in doing these techniques in the sense what plant breeding ಅದು ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಂಗ ಯಾವಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈವ್ ಟು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ yield per unit area from existing firm land, from the existing firm land ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತಂದಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದೇ ಟೈಮ್ನಾಗ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆವರಲ್ ರೈಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ wheat varieties. Scientists who had developed certain rice and wheat varieties in mid of the 1960s. Here, mid of the 1960s agenatu there are some varieties are developed which are called means regarding the rice and wheat, and they added the dramatic increase in a food production or a dramatic increase in a food production in our country. These what we are going to call as the varieties are added dramatic increase in a food production in our country. ಯಾವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿತ್ತು, ಆನಂತರ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿತ್ತು, ಆಗ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟ್ರೈಡ್ ಟು increase the yield per unit area from existing farmland. ಈ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಯಾವಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಆಗೇನಾಗ್ತಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ there are developed some what rice and wheat varieties in mid of the 1960s 1960 that can help to our country to increase dramatic increase in a food production, and this phase is often referred as, and this phase the mid of the 1960, this phase is often referred as Green Revolution. This phase is often referred as a Green Revolution. And now there is one homework question for you people. You used to find out who is the father of Green Revolution. Who is the father of Green Revolution? And now from that we used to start increase the production to fulfill the what we are going to call that one as a need of food. Okay. Now this is about what the thing. India is mainly an agriculture country. Agriculture accounts for the approximately 33% of GDP, 33% of India's GDP, and employ nearly about 62%. It is going to provide for the population of India. After the independence, one of the main challenge facing the country was that production of enough food for the increasing what we are going to call it as the population, and only the limited only the limited area is there that is under the cultivation in India, and from that limited land we used to provide or fulfill the need of food for the increasing population. And that's what I told you. The India has to strive to increase the yield per unit area from existing farmland. And that time there are the development of some rice and wheat varieties that can increase the dramatic increase in food production in our country in mid 1960s, and that phase mid 1960, that is the phase of Green Revolution. Understood? And I told you the homework is to find out who is the father of Green Revolution. Now I used to discuss about few varieties, and this is whatever we are discussing still for so far, this can be done by the plant breeding. Plant breeding ಇಂದನ ಏನು ಪಾತಂದಾಗ ಈ ನ್ಯೂ varieties of rice ಮತ್ತು wheat ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಾಗ ಇಳುವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. So here the plant breeding plays an important role for the dramatic increase in food production in our country. Now I am going to discuss few examples which are developed with the help of plant breeding. First one, we used to go for the discussing about the wheat and rice. We are discussing regarding the wheat and rice. Now here we are going to discuss about the period 1960 to 2000. Year of 1960 to 2000. What is happened in the sense 11 million tons to 75 million tons. 75 million tons TONNES million tons. What? 11 million tons to the 75 million tons, and here 35 million tons to the 89.35 million tons to the 89.5 million tons. What these are the figures are indicating? What are these figures are indicating? What I am telling you here, the development production of wheat and rice from 1960 to the 2000. What happened here? The wheat production from 1960 to the 2000 with the help of plant breeding, it increased dramatically from 11 million tons to 75 million tons within the 40 years. And this figure indicates what, in a sense, the production of rice from 1960 to 2000. How much it increased? 35 million tons to the 89.5 million tons. and this was due to the development of what? And this was due to the development of semi-dark varieties of rice and wheat. This is due to the development of semi-dark varieties of what we are going to call that one as a rice and wheat. And here these semi-dark varieties, we are going to discuss one name, that is what? Norman E. Borlaug. Norman E. Borlaug. This is the name of scientist who is a Nobel laureate, is won the Nobel Prize. Who that? Norman E. Borlaug. He is the Nobel laureate and he worked at the International Center for Wheat and Maize Development in Mexico. He is worked in international, what we are going to call that one as a Center for the Wheat and Maize Improvement in the Mexico, and developed the semi-dark varieties of wheat. This fellow is developed semi-dark varieties of wheat at the International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement in Mexico, where the Center for what we will call the Center for the International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement in Mexico. There, this fellow Norman E. Borlaug is developed semi-dark varieties of wheat, and for this he got the Nobel Prize. And in 1963 in India, the wheat growing belt, there are several varieties such as Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. K-L-Y-A-N. Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. These two varieties are developed and they are distributed throughout the wheat growing belt in India. That can increase what we are going to call as a high yield, and this is the what? Crops. These are having the much disease resistance capacity and they are high yielding capacity. So these two are the important, what we are going to call that as a varieties which are developed in India in 1963, and these are the varieties of what? Wheat. Okay, question is going to ask you, write the what semi-dark varieties of wheat which are developed in 1963 in India. That time I am going to write Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. This question is asked so many times. Now another one we are going to discuss here about the rice varieties. Okay, in 1966 in our country there are introduced two varieties of rice varieties, semi-dark rice varieties named as Jaya and Ratna. These are the rice varieties. Understood? So one is what we are going to call them as a 1963 the wheat varieties, semi-dark wheat varieties. Name of the semi-dark wheat varieties which were developed in 1963 are Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. The second one is the rice varieties, semi-dark rice varieties which were developed in 1966 are Jaya and Ratna. These are the two important what we are going to call that one as a semi-dark varieties which are helpful, which are help a lot to increase the dramatic production of rice in India, and these two are help to increase the dramatic production of wheat in India. So these are what the semi-dark varieties which can help us to increase the food production to fulfill the need of increasing population. Understood? This is about what, and these all are happened due to what we are going to call that one as a plant breeding technique. Plant breeding technique. Next now we are going to discuss about wheat. After wheat and rice, we are going to discuss about the sugar cane. See, sugar cane. Sugar cane ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ? ಕಬ್ಬು. There are two different species. One is Saccharum barberi. One is Saccharum Barberi, barberi, and next one is Saccharum officinarum. Okay, these two species are there. So now you are going to compare what else you have studied and what sir is telling the examples now. ಈಗ ನಾವೇನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ದಾಗ we have studied about the definition of plant breeding and steps involved in a plant breeding. What we studied, the first point regarding the plant breeding, that is nothing but selection of a or collection of a varieties, variabilities. Collection of the variabilities in the sense genetic variation is the root for any breeding happening there in Nana. So now here, what is happened here in the sense, this Saccharum barberi, it is different species, and Saccharum officinarum, this is another species. Now, first step, we are going to choose this. On which basis we have chosen these two for the further, or we are going to get the next variety or next offspring. ಈ ಮೊದಲು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ you are going to go for evaluating and selection of a parents. Why there are many species in India regarding the sugarcane, but here we are discussing only Saccharum barberi and Saccharum officinarum. In the sense, first you collected, then you are going to choose the parents. Evaluation. On which basis you are evaluated in the sense, see here, this Saccharum barberi, this is grow in North India, but it contains less sugar. ಏನೇನು ನನಗೆ ಒಂದೇನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ Saccharum barberi ಏನೈತಿ. Saccharum barberi, it is grow in a North India, but it is poor in sugar content. ಇದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಏನೈತಿ, it is means poor sugar content. It is poor in sugar content. Okay, it is poor in sugar content. Now it is grow in North India and it contain the poor sugar content. Now second one is Saccharum officinarum. This has what we are going to call that one as a broad stem and high sugar content, but it not grow in North India. Okay, ಈಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ. ಈ practically what else we have studied in the plant breeding, in the sense we have studied the steps in a plant breeding. ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಓದೋದು ಬಯೋಡ್ ಹಾಕೋದೇ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡತ್ತೀವಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ನಾವು plant breeding ದಾಗ first we are going to go for collecting the variabilities. In the genetic variation is the root for any plant means breeding technique ಅಂತಂತೀವಿ. So is going to collect. After that, the next step what we are going to go for evaluating and selecting the parents. Now here, not only these two, there are several what sugarcane species are there. From them we are choose these two. These two in the sense how we are choose, we are evaluated and we are what we are going to call it as a select the parent on basis of what and what the characters we need. In the sense, one species is there, Saccharum barberi, it is grow in North India, but it what poor cut means it has a poor sugar content. North India ದಾಗ ಬೆಳಿತೈತಿ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ sugar content ಏನೈತಿ ಅದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಐತೆ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ ಯಾವುದು Saccharum officinarum. This has what we are going to call that one as a has a thicker stem. Thicker ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಏನಿರ್ತೈತಿ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಅದರ ಬಡ್ ಏನಿರ್ತೈತಿ ಅದು thick it is and it has a high sugar content, but it won't grow in a North India. But in North India daga ಬೆಳೆಯಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವು ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ನಾವು ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಆನಂತರ ನಮಗೆ ಇದು ಯಾವ್ದು ಬೇಕನ್ನ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ನಮಗೀಗ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಾಗ ಬೆಳಿಬೇಕು ಅದು. ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗ್ರೋ ಇನ್ ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ and it has to have rich sugar content and disease resistance. Rich sugar content, disease resistance and thick stem. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಂತಂದಾಗ ಆಗೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಇವು ಎರಡು ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ದಿ ವಾಟ್ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡ್ಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡ್ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ, ಆನಂತರ ಅದನ್ನ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಹೊಸ ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲೈಸೇಷನ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸಿಂಪಲ್, ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ we are going to apply in a plant breeding. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 5 ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಏನು ನೋಡಿದಾರ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಂದಾಗ then they are going to go for crossing Saccharium barberi and Saccharium officinarum. ಆಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ the new what we are going to call it as a variety is developed that can having the combined desired characters. Combined desired characters ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, thick stem, high sugar content and it can grow in a what we are going to call it as a North India. North India ದಾಗ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಅನಂತರ ಅದ್ರೊಳಗ thick stem and high sugar content ಇರಬೇಕು. ಆ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಎರಡಕ್ಕೂ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾವ ಜೀನ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಫರ್ದರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ಸ್ಪ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಹಾಕೋಬಹುದು. one gene that can be grow in North India and another gene that is helpful for the thick stem and high sugar content, another gene for the disease resistance. So these three genes or these things we are going to combine to get the desirable what we are going to call as a sugar cane. That is the example, and this also can done with the help of plant breeding techniques. And last we are going to study about millets. M-I-L-L-E-T-S. Millets in the sense what we are going to go for maize, jawar and bajra. Jawar and bajra. Maize, jawar and bajra have been successfully developed in India. In the sense, millets like maize, jawar and bajra, these can develop by through the hybridization or a hybrid maize, jawar and bajra. Hybrid maize, jawar and bajra are successfully developed in India. Hybrid breeding have led to the development of several high yielding capacity. In the sense, illond example modon ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ jawar. First what some jawar, this one what we are going to call that another species are there. Those are having so many means so much of height earlier, and those are having only a small cone in the sense which is getting the jawars in back. ನಾವೇನಂತ ತೆನಿ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಾಗ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಣ್ಣ ತೆನಿ ಇದ್ದು ಆನಂತರ ಹೈಟ್ ಭಾಳ ಇತ್ತು. ಆನಂತರ ಒಂದು ಹೆಂಗಿಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ತೆನಿ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋನು. ಆನಂತರ ಒಂದು ಏನಿರ್ತಂದಾಗ ಹೈಟ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಆದಾಗ ಸಣ್ಣ ತೆನಿ ಇತ್ತು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು. I'm giving an example. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗೋ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್. ಈಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡೇಷನ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದಾಗ ಇದೇನಿದೆ ಹೈಟ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದ ಜೀನ್, ಆನಂತರ ದೊಡ್ಡ ತೆನಿ ಇದ್ದ ಜೀನ್, ಇವನ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡು. ಅದೇನಾದ್ರು ಹೈಟ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ಜೋಳದ ತೆನಿ ಕೋನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಯ್ತು. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡ್ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಜವಾರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. Nowadays we are going to see the jawar varieties with the short height with the larger cones. But earlier ನೀವು ಒಂದು 30 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ 35 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ 40 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಅವೇನಿರ್ತಿದ್ದು ಬಿಳಿಜೋಳ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರ, ಒಂದು ಹೆಸರು ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಯು ಆರ್ ಹರ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಜಿಬ್ರಾ ಜೋಳ ಅಂತ. ಅದೆಷ್ಟು ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ 8-9 ಫೀಟ್ಸ್ ಹೈಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಅದ್ರ ತೆನಿ ಏನಿರ್ತಿದ್ದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ದು, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಈಲ್ಡ್ ಏನಿರ್ತಿತ್ತು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಇವನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆರ್ ಎ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ವೆರಿಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್, ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್, ದೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕ್ರಾಸಿಂಗ್ in between the parents. After that we are going to get the hybrid, then again we are going to evaluation and selection of a hybrids, then we are going to go for the commercialization. Like this, with the help of plant breeding, ಈಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿರಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದಾಗ in India they are developed hybrid maize, jawar and brinjal to successfully to getting the large yield or a higher yield to fulfill the need of food for the increasing population. This meaning these are the things all are come under the plant breeding. Yesterday we have discussed about the plant breeding. Why the need of plant breeding we have studied, the definition of plant breeding we have studied, the steps involved in a plant breeding we have studied, and today we are studying the India is mainly an agriculture country, and GDP of the GDP of the India, 33% of GDP is come from the agriculture, and agriculture in India provide nearly 62% of the employees from total population. And after the what we are going to call that the independence, India was facing the main problem that it has to fulfill the food for the increasing population, and that time the India has tried to increase the yield per unit area from the pre-existing land, and that time they were developed the what we are going to call as a semi-draft varieties of wheat and rice that can help us to increase the food production in mid of the 1960, and that phase is called as a, or that phase is indicated as a green revolution. And after that we have discussed about the some varieties like wheat and rice. Okay, in the wheat varieties ದಾಗ ಏನು ಕಲ್ತು ನಾವು ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ್ ಸೋನಾ and Sonalika, rice variety ದಾಗ Jaya and Ratna, these are developed in 60s. Okay, in India that can help us to increase the productivity of rice and wheat. After that we have discussed about the sugar cane, and after we have discussed about the millets. Okay, this is about what the concept plant breeding and what are the products which are created or developed with the help of plant breeding. Okay, I will continue in the next class. Thank you.